An emotional trip of such breadth packed into an 11-minute time frame. This is the adventure time I completely have my mind melt over. The first episode of Season 7 did not mark an incredible start, but the second episode, this episode, it was glorious. The cute humor was hitting the mark practically right off the bat, while the last episode couldn't really get its jiving step in regards to comedy in my opinion. And even had the humor been totally absent in this episode, the emotional bond explored between PB and Marcy was strong enough to hold the episode completely on its own. This character-heavy episode was a complete delight to watch. Of all the episodes centering around the relationship between Marcy and PB thus far, this one is easily my favorite. Princess Bubblegum is off her rocker a bit in this episode with her behavior. Redneck-style PB is a silly and amusing front she's put on for herself, and it's actually my favorite visual design of her yet. PB is clearly trying to cover up her sadness by taking on a new identity, which includes being ridiculous. I loved it. Leave it up to Adventure Time to explore a range of coping mechanisms for its characters. In Varmints, Marceline is frustrated that PB didn't inform her of her lost kingdom or discuss the emotional turmoil she is going through. PB chalks it up to embarrassment, confusion, and not actually seeing Marceline as a person who such an issue could be discussed with. As PB herself states, that last part was a mean thing to say, but it's done in a very blasé manner that feels like PB is trying to deflect her sadness in the form of crude behavior. Marceline understands this, as her face retains a pained and concerned expression for her friend even while she is being insulted. The constant references to past events between Marcy and PB don't feel forced at all, which is a feat that is hard to pull off when so many remember that time moments are squeezed into 11 minutes. The two are having a hard time maintaining a conversation about the present after drifting apart, in addition to the recent events PB experienced being something she doesn't want to discuss, lest all her bottled feelings end up erupting. You get a genuine feeling that the two want to connect, but are having a hard time getting a meaningful conversation going. So when they end up revisiting an underground site filled with past memories, it feels natural for them to bring up past events the two shared and work off of those to further develop their relationship with one another. Marceline actually displays a rather kind and understanding nature throughout this episode. She's still trying to joke and create an atmosphere of casually poking fun, which is where her comfort zone in regards to interpersonal interactions lies. But when this shakes the lid on the feelings PB is trying to keep bottled up, she quickly shows genuine regret at her carefree words. While Marcy isn't good at anticipating PB's harsh reactions, Marceline is very quick to shoulder the blame after the fact. She understands the recent turmoil of her friend and ultimately holds no resentment toward PB whatsoever, which is best demonstrated when Marceline says PB has nothing to apologize for. Marceline does a lot of transforming in this episode in ways we have never witnessed before. There was a werewolf-like transformation all the way back in Season 1 during the episode Henchman, but this was a more grotesque-looking wolf than the one we see in this episode. I can't say I'm a fan of this new transformation she shows. It makes me think that somebody took Nathan Explosion from Metalocalypse and turned him into a furry. Then Marceline's ability to shapeshift into essentially anything, I have to assume. That felt a bit odd simply because I never got that sort of indication from her powers throughout all 6 seasons before. Introducing an ability of this caliber this late into the series feels out of the blue, but it's not that big of an issue and it's nothing to really get hung up over. So now, let's talk Princess Bubblegum. P-Bubs has long been established as tyrannical, a control freak, and morally ambiguous. A dictator, if you will. Under her literally sweet exterior, us viewers realize dwells a person who is actually extremely harsh and potentially dangerous. While some episodes in Season 6 did explore her humanity, no recent episode has humanized PB to the extent that Varmints has. We connect back to what makes us love PB, and these tender and human characteristics just make her such a more dynamic and interesting character, especially when contrasted with the negative traits I described earlier. The struggle PB had with maintaining an expanding kingdom, and the initial goodwill that somewhere down the road transformed into something far more nefarious. This is explored through the agony PB feels now that her people have abandoned her. And the moment when PB finally breaks down is truly mesmerizing. PB's graffiti reminds her of a time long since past, when she still had free time to goof around with Marceline. And PB continues on to think of the kingdom she has built since then, and all the citizens she has created, raised, and taken care of through grueling and non-stop effort. And she thinks how she lost her hat, and her pumpkin patch, and the trust of her citizens, and the kingdom, and even ended up pushing her friends away. And this train of thought leads Princess Bubblegum to finally break down and let her feelings flood out. It is a paramount and powerful moment when PB finally confides in Marceline and realizes she has a shoulder to cry on. I have not bothered mentioning the Varmints despite them being the name of the episode because, ultimately, they are merely providing the structure for the episode's real content to be formulated around. Don't get me wrong, battling the Varmints was a fun little adventure, but the real adventure here is watching PB's internal journey and Marcy's desire to regain the bond she shared with her friend. And that's what makes this episode so amazing. Incredibly well-executed and touching emotional development layered over an action-filled amusing escapade. That is what best embodies Adventure Time.